So long-time viewers of my channel will know that Doctor Who Confidential was a seminal part of my development, a part of my growing up when it was first being broadcast in 2005, the companion show to Doctor Who that would broadcast on BBC Three, and you'd get these full 45-minute videos that were not only a look at the behind-the-scenes making of the episode that was just broadcast, but also a peek behind the curtain of the classic series, where it was basically the way that I saw many of the original classic series clips and knew about the classic series and the doctors and the actors for the very first time. And unfortunately, due to cutbacks, due to BBC Three no longer being a thing as of, only a couple of months ago, it was brought back on TV. There was no Doctor Who Confidential anymore. However, there was a news story, a rumour, shall we say, that Tharies actually talked about a couple of weeks back, that now the Mirror has been running as an actual proper rumour that they're calling an exclusive. Doctor Who getting spin-off series in conjunction with 60th anniversary special. Returning showrunner Rusty Davies has commissioned the series believed to be called Doctor Who Unleashed, which will begin in 2023. Returning showrunners commissioned the series believed to be called Doctor Who Unleashed, which will begin in 2023 in conjunction with the 60th anniversary special, which sees David Tennant reprise his role as the 10th Doctor alongside Catherine Tate as his companion Donna Noble. The programme will be fronted by BBC radio presenter and gaming reporter Stefan Powell. It will be similar format to Doctor Who Confidential, which launched in conjunction with the show in 2005 by Russell, which ran until 2012, giving fans interviews with the cast and writers as well as sneak peeks of filming and special effects wizardry. The sister show is part of Russell's grand plan to boost Doctor Who's flagging ratings and get fans back on side following the disappointment of departing showrunner Chris Chibnall's time in charge and a lukewarm response to the 13th Doctor Jodie Whittaker. A source said, Doctor Who Confidential was hugely popular amongst fans when Christopher Eccleston brought the show back as the 9th Doctor, and that continued during David's tenure in the TARDIS as the 10th Doctor. Russell is aware that Doctor Who fans can never get enough content when it comes to the show and how it's made. With David and Catherine making a sensational return to the show, he thought the time was right to bring back a behind-the-scenes show which would document their comebacks and show how the specials were made. The plan is for Doctor Confidential to continue to run in conjunction with the series when Russell's first season airs, with Ncuti Gatwa joining as the 14th Doctor. So that's what we've got right now. Now, like we mentioned earlier, Tharies reported this rumour back in June, I think, and then by mid to late July, the Mirror is also running this as a story, so whether it's from the same source or not, I don't know. However, one thing that's interesting about this, though, is that there has been footage of filming from Camden Market when it was David Tennant in front of Cyberdog and Bernard Cribbins was in the wheelchair and they were in Camden Market and such, where he was talking directly to a camera, and people were saying, is this Doctor Who Confidential coming back? Is this Doctor Who Confidential? Is this a new behind-the-scenes show? And at the time, I did sort of hand wave it away, because even though Doctor Who Confidential has not been a thing since 2012, 2013, they have done behind-the-scenes features for YouTube and also for the DVD and Blu-ray home media releases. If you go to the Doctor Who YouTube channel, you'll still find that there are behind-the-scenes making-ofs. There's a video diary with John Bishop. There's this infamous story breakdown behind the scenes. Bryn Carvanese, this actually does have behind the scenes interviews and stuff. So I thought, even if it's not confidential, it is still behind the scenes stuff, just not as elaborately put together as Confidential was. But apparently, according to the Mirror and Tharies, that Doctor Who Unleashed is apparently a thing. Now, I think in terms of an economic incentive for the BBC, it's kind of a no-brainer, because I'm kind of amazed that they were able to do behind-the-scenes stuff for Flux because of the amount of people that would have been required on set, because of, it was still COVID restrictions. There was still a pandemic and no vaccine when Doctor Who Flux was starting to be filmed in late 2020. But for a show like Confidential, all you really need to do is have just a skeleton crew on the filming location and on the set, filming some behind the scenes stuff and interviews with the team behind it. It's comparatively to most shows that would be on BBC Three, you could get half an hour of TV on the channel and on the iPlayer for kind of zero investment, and you will still have many people wanting to watch the show. For me, if I was a commissioning editor at the BBC, or if I was in charge of BBC Three, it would be an absolute no-brainer for me. But when it comes to whether or not this is actually true, Russell T Davies has talked about how he wants to make the Doctor Who universe a much bigger and more expansive place, and that would also include sister series. Even if it's not strictly speaking like a canonical spin-off, it's still something that raises the profile of Doctor Who and has more stuff out there for fans to watch and to wrap their hands around. So I think that Confidential as well, because it was the show that made me want to work in the industry in the first place. It was the show that, made like opened the doors to the media industry and made me think, oh, actually, actual people make this, and this is a job. This is like some sort of like actual career path that I can go down, and the rest is history, really. Via the Void, it would be something to put on BBC4. BBC4's going completely online though, along with CBBC. That's no longer going to be a dedicated terrestrial channel as of next year, I think. But yeah, Doctor Who Unleashed, it could be true. I think that when it comes to spiraling budgets and cost of living stuff, and also like cuts at the BBC, I think it's a smart economic move, all things considered. But also what interests me though is this line here: the programme will be fronted by BBC radio presenter and gaming reporter Stefan Powell. Now, full disclosure, I've worked with Stefan Powell before. I was driving him around years ago when I was a runner at a BBC live event in Swansea. And he was just the loveliest man. And his work is terrific as well. He does great work in terms of gaming journalism, particularly when it comes to technological advances which help disabled people get into gaming. For example, when I was chatting with him, it was around the time that Microsoft had announced that massive disabled friendly controller with like, it basically looked like a DJ turntable with those massive buttons on the front. Let's get an image real quick, 1 second. Yeah, here we go, the adaptive controller. It was around the time that this was getting released, and he was doing reports and videos on it for the BBC. Really interesting tech, but it was around that time. I remember that from the time. Yeah, and Stefan Powell is just the nicest guy as well. In terms of actually getting somebody on board to do this, couldn't happen to a nicer guy, and I think he'd be a great pick for it. He's also from Wales, and if he's currently working in Cardiff, it makes sense that, you get somebody who's based in Cardiff where the show is being filmed, get them on board for this as well. Also, random Stefan Powell story. After I dropped him off at his dad's at the end of a day's work, he invited me in for a cup of tea. So I had tea with Stefan Powell and his dad, and they were just the loveliest people, and it was a lovely cup of tea as well. So Doctor Who Unleashed, maybe. I mean, the pieces are in place for it, the infrastructure's in place for it, and I wish that they would call it Doctor Who Confidential. That's all I'd want. Does it have to be called, like, if it's going to be called Doctor Who Unleashed, it needs to have a different element to it. Because if it's just Confidential but with a different name, like, why bother changing the name? There could be maybe a live element to this, I don't know. Maybe like a totally Doctor Who element to get a studio audience in, I don't know. Either way, this looks like an interesting rumour. Looney Sparrow, does Stefan Powell serve a good cuppa? His dad did. I assume that it runs in the family. Tony Parker, how can American learn to make a good cuppa? Right. Mug, preferably a macro mug. There's a link in the description to the merch store. We're going to be adding more stuff in the coming months as well. So, mug, tea bag, breakfast tea, preferably. Like Yorkshire tea is the brand I go for. Bam, in the mug. Boiling water from a kettle. Fill it up to like 80% of the way. Mix it. Take the tea bag out. As you take it out, scrape the tea bag like off the side of the mug so you get a bit more teeness from it. Bin the tea bag. Bit of milk. Stir it again. Bam. Perfect tea. Take the tea bag out. Add the milk. Stir. Bam. There we go. Jack Alexander, whoa, bag out them milk. Yes. Yes. I mean, if somebody made me a cup of tea and they used milk while the bag was in, I wouldn't tell them off, but I think it's better. It's just how it is. Sean Kelly, how many sugars? Completely up to you. For me, no sugar. I only have sugar in coffee, personally. Unikitty Lover, I do tea bag, sugar, water, milk, stir, take out the tea bag. I think if I've made tea with sugar, yeah, you definitely have to add it at the same time as the tea bag. You don't like add it afterwards. Rene Moncaro, can you explain it again, but this time in American English? Okay, so you get your mug, you get your tea bag, boiling water, take the tea bag out, milk, you got your drink. Bam. Okay, I hope you heard that music. I hope I don't get content ID claimed, but that's how you do it. As an American, this is accurate. Yeah, rootin' tootin'. Lady Sparrow, please do it in an American accent. No, accents have always been my weakness. Okay, so Rob here, going full goblin mode. Milk, then cold water, then tea bag. Take the milk out, add hot water, drink it in one. That's mad. Denkat, tea needs to be the same colour as a He-Man figure. 1 second, let's get the tea scale. Okay, this is good enough. Right, here's the tea scale. The bottom right here, which is F6, is essentially just a tea bag well mixed with no milk. Okay, that's a black tea. A1 is basically, what's the name of, it's like when you cook a steak and you put the steak on the grill, cook, and then you eat it. Like that's it. That's the equivalent here. Tea bag, water, and then it's like, take the tea bag out before it's barely touched the water and add milk. My tea consistency is probably like D4 or D3. Like this looks quite marginal. But yeah, that's my cup of tea. Around here. One of these three. Okay, blue. Thank you. Yeah, blue steak. Yeah, when you put it on the grill, and then serve it. I don't know. You probably die if you do. It depends on the meat, I guess. Stay on target. So I use cow juice for some milk. I drink it from the animal itself as well. D3 is the only correct answer. There is no wholly correct answer, but I do think if you're getting to this end of the scale, there's no point in even drinking tea. Like, there's no point in even owning tea bags or kettles if you just want a glass of milk, right? C4 and D3. So C4, D. Yeah, that checks out. Sean Kelly, have you tried fish custard? I have. It's alright. I let the tea steep for a couple of minutes. I like the bitterness. Yeah, it depends on the tea bag as well. With Yorkshire tea, I can just do a good stir, scrape it as it gets taken out of the mug, and that's fine. But some teas, you got to kind of keep it in there, especially like flavoured ones like chamomile and ginger tea, etc. D2. Yeah, that's fine. Like that's a mild tea. That's all right. Jack, anyone fancy Battleship for some reason? It does feel like that, doesn't it? Although A6 is right. A6 is right, I think. It's not a super high quality, high res image or anything, but D4 is mine. R2D4. R2D4. Yeah, I think this is a good cup of tea. Now compared to He-Man action figure. He-Man action figure. God, which one though? Yeah, let's go for this one. So that's the colour. That's the colour of tea you're after. His He-Man flesh, right? B4. There we go. Yeah. That's B4, innit? If someone made that tea for me, Rob, it's a solid B4. Yeah, I know. Yeah, there we go. I love how the chat sex box came along as well, and he's like, "Oh no, it's a tea getting out of here." Yeah, he's a B4. If somebody handed me that cup of tea, I'd be fine. Kiss Dharma drinks A1. No, he drinks C2, which I think somehow worse, because that is just milk. C2 is like, yeah, a tea bag has technically gone in there, but why do you even bother? Orion Chalmers, I just joined. What? We're talking about tea. Lonely Sparrow, Chad move, drink A1 and F6 at the same time. That's actually not a bad shout. But yeah, both glasses at the same time. And thank you to Kernan Christian, who subscribed during the live stream, clearly watching the tea talk and thinking I need some of that.
You belong to us. You shall be like us.
Scott Joe would watch tea, would each doctor drink. I'm not doing the full thing, but the war doctor would drink like F6. There's that meme of like what happens if you're in a toilet cubicle taking a poop and somebody knocks on the cubicle. And I love it when they put the war doctor and Peter Capaldi in the category of knocks back. Anyway, right. And thank you for the Gherkinman as well for the £5 super chat. Thank you so much.
Wonderful chap. All of them.
Will I be excommunicated for being a British person who doesn't like tea or coffee? Coffee, that's fine if you don't like it, whatever. Tea, I do think it's a rite of passage. Like, not to dox yourself or whatever, but how old are you? Is it because for example, when I was young, back in my day, I hated tea. I hated the taste of alcohol. I hated the taste of coffee and stuff. But it's one of those things that as you grow older, your taste buds mature and warm to it. It's one of those things where I think if you're a teenager or young, obviously you're not going to like it. But if you still don't like tea or coffee by the time you're in your early to mid-20s, then it's just not a drink for you. I'm 32, I'm older than you. Oh, yeah, you are older than me. Okay, then tea or coffee is just not for you then. Do you like coffee-flavoured stuff? Like, for example, my wife doesn't like coffee, but she likes coffee cake. Or some, like, frappuccino-type drinks. Yeah. My taste buds definitely didn't get the memo on alcohol. You've just not found the right alcohol then, I'm afraid. You need to experiment more. Dan the Goblin. I've liked tea since I was 8. Goblin by name, goblin by nature. Blimey. Gherkinman, I don't like tiramisu. I can just get away with coffee cake, but it doesn't really taste like coffee. So, yeah, I don't think you'll be excommunicated, but I wouldn't crack that fact out on like a blind date or like a reality TV show where they ask about your personality. That could put a target on your back. But I think just not liking tea or coffee, that's fine. Your secret is safe with us for now. Renee Moncay with a 1900 trillion peso super chat.
Wonderful chap. All of them.
I'm disappointed Doctor Who tea was about gossip. Do I make this a segment? Do I upload this as like a YouTube live stream segment, like the tea stunlock? I feel like Matt Smith's 11th Doctor would drink 1B or 1C. He doesn't quite know how tea works. Yes, I make this into a segment. Yeah, this is the Matt Smith tea. This is Capaldi. Yeah, we'll work backwards. Right. Joe Martin's down here. Jodie Whittaker is around the middle. Capaldi is up here. Matt Smith's here. John Hurt's here. He takes it black. David Tennant. I think he'd be more of a coffee man. Maybe down here. Eccleston is also here. Like, he'd say, can I have a cup of tea? Drop of milk. Like a tiniest bit. No sugar, but drop of milk. That's Eccleston. McGann. Yeah, McGann's down here as well. McGann and Joe Martin sharing a strong brew. Yeah, that's the one. McCoy. Same as Eccleston. Drop of milk. Drop of milk. Colin Baker wants a strong one. Pete Davison is like, I want it just because it's creamy. So some not ridiculous, not pure milk, but definitely around here. Tom Baker, Builder's Tea. What is Builder's Tea? Builder's Tea confuses me so much because it honestly changes based on who you ask. Like, when I first was asked to make a Builder's Tea, and I asked what's a Builder's Tea, they said all Builder's Teas are the same. Strong tea, milk, 2 sugars. However, whenever somebody has said build Tonks, John choose the tea leaves. Yeah. Yes. He straight from the branch. It's not seen water in its life. Straight off the branch. Yeah, so Tom Baker wants a Builder's Tea. If that's the case, he'll probably want something round here with sugar. Pertwee, yeah, Pertwee's also in the middle here as well, but it's not his first choice though. He would want wine, and he'd accept the tea begrudgingly. Troughton, milky, but the bag has been in the mug for a while. JP11 just sucks on the tea bag. Dan the Goblin, Tom Baker takes 4 sugars. I think I've actually heard that as well. Tonks Moriarty, how many sugars per doctor? This is oh my goodness, no, we can only take this bit so far. And Hartnell, chat, what does Hartnell have? Yeah, he's probably like, yeah, just a drop of milk as well. Because I think when you're old as well, you don't really care how your tea comes, you just want tea. Because you're kind of more waiting for the end rather than wanting a good brew. So yeah, I'm thinking here, Darius Troughton would have vodka instead of milk. No, I actually think it's the opposite direction. He'd go for the Baileys. He'd go for the Irish coffee, but not tell anyone else. Tonks Hartnell would have a lot of sugar in his, maybe. Russell Jesus, well, I'm sorry. 7 definitely has 12 sugars. Well, there's that clip in, I think it's also a homage to Pertwee. It's in Death in Heaven, and the 12th Doctor's on the plane, and he's made himself a cup of tea, and he's just putting sugar cube after sugar cube after sugar cube in. I think that's a Pertwee callback, isn't it? Or is it a Baker callback? Tom Baker? I can't remember. Lee New Capaldi melts the kettle, staring at it, waiting to boil. Yes. Suggestion 7 decides no one will have sugar. By the time he's decided if he takes sugar or not, the tea's gone cold. Orion Thomas, a positive note about Death in Heaven from you. That's because pure descriptive. I said nothing positive or negative. Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Thank you, Dr. Finch. You mentioned it 4 times. I'm sorry, I'm more focusing on the teas than the chat. I'm trying to multitask here. Tiny Kemper, what kind of tea is Dr. Screw having? It's a prop drink. It's not intended for human consumption. It's just there to look good on camera before the action happens. Now do the Fatal Death Doctors. No, we're pulling the cord. I'm sorry. We're stopping here. No, that's it. That's the tea stun lock, everyone.